Previously on the Whimsical Adventures of Great Aunt Peggy. Agent Carter was arrested after a Leviathan setup and the work of Agent Sousa. Agent Carter was able to prove most of her innocence. However, Dr. Faustus, a Leviathan agent, strapped explosive armor to Chief Dooley, causing him to explode. Also, Agent Carter made out with her housemate Dottie. And now, the thrilling conclusion.
Log number 7. Well, it took me another set number of days. I lost count. But I think I finally got the last file of this thing.
Peggy joined SSR agents Sousa and Thompson at a movie theater where a massacre had occurred. The patrons had all killed each other. Sousa then found an empty gas tank, which turned out to be not so completely empty. After flying into a rage, Sousa had to be subdued. After the chemical ran its course, Sousa returned to the SSR office with Peggy. It turned out that Faustus had 17 more cans of this rage gas. This meeting, however, was then interrupted by Howard Stark. Stark explained that the gas, called Midnight Oil, was developed on accident, and that the U.S. Army then stole his notes and used the gas on a small Russian village. Stark agreed to use himself as bait in order to catch the Leviathan agents. The SSR set up a phony press conference for Stark. In preparation, Peggy confronted Stark. Stark said that he needed to make up for all that he did wrong. Naturally, the press conference was interrupted by gunfire. Jarvis got Stark to a car that it turned out was being driven by a police officer under Faustus's influence. Peggy and Agent Thompson were then able to piece together where Leviathan's next attack would occur. It would be in Times Square, which would be packed with people celebrating VE Day. After failing to call off the VE Day celebration, Peggy began wondering how Leviathan would execute the attack. Jarvis was able to piece together that Faustus and Dottie might be trying to use one of Stark's private jets. The agents arrived too late, however, as Stark is now under Faustus's influence, is now thinking that he's located Captain America and trying to save him. He takes off for New York City. Working to stop Howard Stark, Jarvis volunteered to fly a plane and shoot Stark down if necessary. Meanwhile, Peggy was able to locate Faustus and Dottie. Peggy and Dottie began fighting, and Peggy was eventually able to throw Dottie through a window to the hangar floor. However, Faustus escaped. Agents Thompson and Sousa began searching for Faustus. Faustus managed to take down Agent Thompson and began trying to hypnotize Agent Sousa. It didn't work due to the earplugs Sousa had been wearing. Back with Peggy, she desperately tried to talk Stark down, but to no avail. Eventually, Jarvis managed to get into position to shoot Stark. Eventually, Peggy managed to appeal to Stark that even though they all loved Cap, they had to let him go. This was enough to break Faustus's mind control. Later, while walking through the hangar, Peggy noticed that Dottie's body was missing. However, she didn't interfere, and SSR agents were able to take in Dr. Faustus. The next day, the SSR welcomed Peggy back. Even though publicly Agent Thompson would wind up getting all the credit, Peggy told Agent Sousa that she didn't mind not getting the publicity. It only mattered that the other agents now respected her. Later, while Peggy and Angie are touring their new apartment, paid for by Howard Stark, Jarvis gives Peggy the vial of Captain America's blood. Peggy then takes the vial and throws it into the river.
Overall, this last three-part story really did serve as a great end cap to this series. Even though there's that Dottie cliffhanger, but that can always be explored if the show does come back. Whether or not it will, I don't know. The ratings haven't been spectacular, but then again, they're not that much worse than the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ratings, and that seems to be on track to get renewed, so maybe there's a chance. But if there isn't, this more than served as a great little story. I have no problem recommending this to someone who's maybe not entirely familiar with everything. And if we do get more adventures, hopefully we'll get ones with Carter in more of a position of respect rather than the constant sexist overtones that dogs the early parts of this series. Well, if there's going to be more, I'll see you next time. If not, thanks for watching.